Today we're going to answer the question of just how long can a max buffed Vengeful True Sun God survive? Giving it every conceivable buff in the game, we will start our journey first at the tier 3 Sun Avatar, as that is a tower from the same path. Now, what's kind of surprising to me is that I've done a lot of super buffing towers in the past. Wink wink nudge nudge, this playlist over here might be helpful if you want to catch out episodes of those, but I thought I covered every single tier 5, every single strong tier 5 that would be worth covering, except for somehow the strongest in the game. My guess for not doing this for so many years is probably because I never thought about trying to buff a temple, when normally a temple is actually the one you want to support your tower with. We have a golden village here, by the way, just to simulate having a true sun god without it actually taking pops away. And this is also not the max amount of buffs yet. For one, we bring Adora to be able to sacrifice stuff so that we can gain attack speed on the Super Monkey. So now instead of 8k DPS I saw earlier, it should be higher than that. Now if you still saw 8k DPS there, that's because I actually didn't use Adora right. You actually need her to be in range of the Sun Avatar in order to gain the attack speed from it, which means she's gonna take some pops away, but I mean, compared to all the buffs being given here, I think it's a sacrifice we will have to make, pun intended. We have infinite money, so I can overspend, but you want at least $3,000 worth of sacrifice for every minute. That's how long the sacrifice lasts for, and now should be a good time to mention that I should have done this in a previous update because the Adora ability just got nerfed. In update 49, the max amount of stacks you can get with the Adora buff is much lower. It might not seem like a whole lot to you, like just 50 to 40 stacks, but that's the difference because of the multiplicative effect from a 2x attack speed bonus at 50 versus I think approximately 1.7 at 40, which apparently is enough to knock it down a fair amount in the tier list. Rip that, but it's still going to be strong nonetheless, and I think you'll still be impressed by how far all these towers will get. Just know they would have gotten further in a previous update. As I said earlier, this is not the max amount of buffs in the game right now on the Sun Avatar because I am missing a couple from the new towers. For one, our Mermonkey here can now give 40% Pierce to any tower. I don't think Pierce is actually an issue, given we have the Pierce Crosspath and all the buffs being given. But it's there just in case. I moved it just so it is in a range of the temple, so it is a little bit weaker. And also, Desperado has the utility that could be very useful. Bounty Hunter increases range, so now the Sun Avatar can have closer to full map range. But not just that, you might have seen me mention it before, but this ability increases the accuracy of towers, which essentially means spread. So when I use it on Sun Avatar now, it shoots in a straight beam, which is honestly really cool to see. And I think it makes it stronger. I think there are some cases where you do want a slightly wider spread, but if we're talking about it trying to focus down a single BAD remaining, then I think it will help us for the most part. But just know this is probably the least important buff that the Sun Avatar needs. It's just kind of funny to look at, that's all. Anyway, I am also missing debuffs, but when I do these tests, I don't run debuffs because they're kind of inconsistent. As I like to say, this is more of a buffing showcase rather than a debuffing showcase, you know what I mean? The Adora ability also, sacrifice ability, also gives a range, so now you can hardly even see the range indicator or where the range stops of the Sun Avatar, and that's because it has pretty much global range. But if you squint your eyes really, really closely to the top left, then you'll see a tiny smidgen of range. So we can essentially call that full map range, alright? Round 180, holding strong. I think this has the good odds to make it to 200, even without debuffs. And yep, it's gonna be tight, but the way things are looking, this son of a gun is gonna make it to 200. Pun intended. Or is it? Hang on. Oh, I think it's gonna have some help with the Mermonkey stun, or slow. It is what it is, but I think it's close enough to say that it probably would work with better micro if it didn't work already. Now, even with the Adora buff, we are peaking at only 13.5 thousand damage per second on a single target, which is good, but for round 200, probably not good enough, especially since without Seeking, the Desperado accuracy isn't gonna help much. Again, that might be a case where maybe less accurate beams would do a little bit more, but we're gonna be able to hop one of them. I don't think we're gonna be able to get number 2, though. Either way, a good effort from our Sun Avatar. But now it's time to check out the next path, the Sun Temple. As the Sacrifice Helper tells you here, we're gonna skip the military because I still believe it is the weakest of all of them. Let's go and let's buy all our buffs back. Anyway, let's run round 200 again with the temple setup, and yep, the DPS this time is much, much higher than the Sun Avatar. That is a lot of dense bolts and enough splash damage or secondary damage with the blades that I think we can damage number 2 at the same time. Getting about halfway through the trek, so surprisingly, I don't think it will perform too much better than Sun Avatar, although I still think it has a lot of rounds to go still. Don't forget, too, that it has some blowback utility, as you saw there. I also didn't perma around 200, so that might have made or helped a lot, too. Missing Murmonkey as well, but again, that doesn't do much. And Desperado, I'm kind of curious about how will it increase accuracy? It might not on a tower, because, I mean, as you see, everything looks pretty damn accurate, or shooting in a straight line. But I think it does affect the mini Sun Avatars, if you can look very closely. Well, just think about the fact that they're literally Sun Avatars, so they should shoot similar to how the accuracy Sun Avatar did at Tier 3. Hard to see under the giant beams that is of the Sun Temple, but you get the point. Literally, its only purpose is for the accuracy, because it already have full map range without the Desperado buff, so that is completely worthless, and camo as well. Round 230 update. I guess I wouldn't say this is a small jump from Sun Avatar. Like, if you look at the DPS in the top right corner, it's pretty good. I've seen it go past 500,000 at certain points if the rounds are dense enough. We also have it pretty much targeting FBAT only while on strong. And in doing so, they're still not really getting much further than round 200 did, so I literally just had to get the missing buffs that I didn't get earlier. And I think we have at least 20-30 more rounds in us. Okay, danger alert. I actually leaked some lives, I think, to some DDT insides around 248, so there are not many rounds to go. Because while knockback is nice for the magic, it only works on mobs and below, so that eventually isn't going to help us. It doesn't look like it knocks back DDTs, so no utility on that front. Oh, it's looking like a GG possibility here, and oh, indeed it is. That's an even 50 round increase compared to the Sun Avatar, so overall not bad. I definitely expect way more than 50 rounds for the next update, though. Now bring on the strongest non-paragon in the game. So strong that some people even consider this a paragon. So don't forget, we have to have Legend Knight and the Anti-Bloon out there in order to transform it to the true version. Let's go, and quickly, let's buy buffs back, because I don't know if a base VTSG is going to be enough to clean up. So you should get these buffs in case. So far, let's check the DPS. It's not seemingly much higher than max tier 4, but now that we have Homeland cooking, it's looking a lot better. Yeah, there we go. That's what we need. 500k DPS simply on a couple FBATs alone should give you, pretty much tell you the entire picture. Alright, sweet. I think I got back every single buff now. Peeking at, damn, 990k. 1 million, there we go. 1.5 million mark has been breached. Almost 2 million, in fact. Anyway, getting carried away here. I should mention that you might be thinking that I'm missing a buff, because this time, when I got back my golden village, I only got a 000 or 00 instead of the true Sun God buff, and that's because I'm simulating single player. With every max buff tower, I gave it a true Sun God buff, but because it's the true Sun God itself, I can't really give it a true Sun God buff in single player. It would then be co-op if I did that, which I will do after. I think while we're already here, it would make sense to go all the way and show the true power in simulating if there were 4 players and thus being able to get multiple tier 5s. But for the time being, it's just the tier 4 buff. Now that being said, if I do simulate co-op and test multiple tier 5s, I have to test with multiple heroes too, and that also involves putting the TSG on water. Because if you don't know, temples can float on water, so they can actually receive water buffs. Speaking of which, I guess I honestly should have done that even for the single player test, because the Carrier Flagship buff would be able to work. So what you're seeing here is actually about 17% short of the strongest damage VTSG. Don't worry, I'll fix this in a little bit. But for now, you should be able to see that this VTSG not on water, if it can handle round 300, and I think it might just barely make it. None of the F-Bats are really damaged a good amount, but there is a good amount of overlap on them, so I believe we'll rack up a lot of damage once we're in the corner here. Come on, for the big 300, and to prove that is indeed more than a 50 round increase from the tier 4, and that we got a lot more in the tank. Very nice. Now, let's give it the true buffs. And now also introducing small balloons for clarity's sake. You know, a tower is so much stronger when the leg starts to kick in. And I should mention that there's more than just the Brickle buff that we're giving. Don't forget that in co-op you can have up to 4 players. So our third hero is going to be Azili. The totem is another approximately 17% attack speed buff. As well as Geraldo. The fourth hero really doesn't matter. There's several heroes that give you range. So I just decided that a count potion would be easier to give. Well, not that it really matters because this has full map range anyway. Although I forgot to mention that the range does matter for the mini sun avatars, or the dark avatars. They have a much smaller base range than the VTSG, but now, with all the range buffs, they pretty much have the same amount of range as the temple before, with tiny sliver on the top left. So these 18 icons you see on the VTSG here, I think are pretty much our final buff amounts. There are other towers or buffs where you can give more icons. I know people on Reddit do that a lot and you get up to like 50, but obviously some of them are redundant, like getting an overclock, even though the Ultra Boost already counts as the same thing and you can't stack them. It just looks more funny more than anything else. There's also a sneaky tower that gives a buff, but I'm not going to use it. The final harmonic increases the Pierce of Magic Monkeys, but I feel like the Pierce is already high enough that I'd rather not have the trancing effect of the Mer Monkey ruining things, because it'll be able to hook in ZMGs and all that, and detonate DOT. Round 365 update, VTSG reaching new heights at approximately 4 million DPS, although I don't know how accurate the DPS display is when you start lagging. Its also might actually be a little bit higher than that, if it doesn't take into account lag. Anyway, F-Pads are still only popping a little bit after the halfway point in the log, so 365 is probably not even close to the end. Because of that, we gotta take a big leap over to round 400, and I confirmed that the DPS display is affected by lag, because I was watching the pop counts carefully, so we're probably looking at well in excess of over 10 million DPS, and also, it seems it cannot handle round 400 because we end up leaking to DDTs. Maybe that's because I put on strong, so we gotta give this round a try again. Perhaps I was a little bit overzealous in testing that round, but now gotta switch to first in the middle of the round, which now means I fall behind to all of the other F-Bats in the round, and that is not a good sign. That means I have even less time to deal with all of the FTDTs, and so we got much further with Micro this time, but still end up with an L. That may seem like a disappointing result to some of you, but do remember that round 400 is very, very, very hard. In fact, I think I've seen people try all Paragons in easy free play before, and they didn't even get to 400, so just to give you a point of reference. The max VTSG is pretty much almost as good as all max Paragons combined. In case you couldn't tell by this point, I was skipping rounds earlier just to get to the meat of the action. So now we are going to backtrack to 385 to find the point where the VTSG approximately loses to. And it looks like 15 rounds is more than enough to make a difference. DTs are still kinda scary, but we are able to hold them off by, once again, utilizing strong into first targeting. Surprisingly, 5 rounds ended up making all the difference as we fall quite handily to round 390. Since everyone's free play seed is different, this should give you a pretty accurate indicator or estimate of, well, how long the VTSG would survive. So I hope you enjoy this very deep max buff showcase, and if you want to check out more like this, then, well, there's videos over here and a playlist over here. See ya.